fun. Awesome.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. Nailed it. Welcome, everybody, to the Glaziar Gamble podcast. We're back again with another episode regarding Marvel and the thing that has actually, gotten a lot of people talking, which is super fun considering Captain America hasn't been getting a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic.
Pretty fantastic. The Fantastic Four trailer, or first sneak peek.
It was very short. But
Marvel Entertainment called it a sneak peek, so I don't know if we want to call it an official trailer, but
sure.
yeah, about a minute and a half about the movie. You know, we get to see that the Thing is a fan of the bear. We get to see that
Get out of my kitchen, brother.
we get to see
Cousin. Sorry.
there's just a good little mix of everything that we've seen, including a little section of Galactus. Not a cloud this time, huge miss. And
there is a cloud. It looks like comets are raining down.
We don't get to see Silver Surfer.
Yeah, but there is one moment where Johnny's flying around the city.
Yeah,
like he's flying around the city. He's probably chasing the Silver Surfer,
right?
But
Which, for those, just a reminder for those, Silver Surfer will be feminine this time. Won't be the masculine Silver Surfer from the first one of original movies that we've seen.
Right. Yeah, it won't be Nora Rad.
Right.
Silver Surfer. It'll be
Norma Rad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have a feminine Silver Surfer, which I think we've talked about this in previous episodes regarding when we talked about our expectations when they announced Pedro Pascal was going to be Mr. Fantastic and all that. We discussed how it could be kind of cool to see like Silver Surfer use her hair as like a weapon, because super crazy. You just a lot of potential with Silver Surfer in general. And having a feminine figure could unlock a little bit something new. Kind of like Venom, you know, when you get She-Venom, you get a little bit of a different taste of how they use their abilities. I think that
I'm sure you do get a little bit of a different taste.
Yeah, that too. I'm fine. I'd be willing to taste either, but you know, that's just, to each their own.
I think most people are accustomed to the Norrin Rad version of Silver Surfer, and I think, especially with this, like 101% being in another universe, this is the time to do it. Like, this is the time to do it, because that if you want to do the male Silver Surfer, you could always have that Silver Surfer exist in the MCU.
Yeah.
And so, well, I mean, this movie technically exists in the MCU. All universes exist in the MCU technically. So, yeah, I think this would be the time to do it. And then I think that's going to be who kind of connects the Fantastic Four. If they do come over to the MCU, I think that's
which they will.
Right.
I do normally, you know, we kind of do like a little discussion or whatever. I just kind of want to jump into the immediate internet reaction. And kind of talk about it, because there's a couple things about it which are kind of like a little bit's pissing me off, a little bit's making me feel great. So first couple things that are pissing me off: anybody who's mad about how the Thing looks.
You mean the most comic accurate version of the Thing?
Yeah, I don't care that he kind of looks like a penis. He looked like a penis in the comics, and
he looks exactly like he's supposed to.
He does. The costumes look good.
Eyebrows, the thick eyebrows.
Yeah, the thick eyebrows. The colors have been going. We're recording there. No, what's up?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Never mind. I'm sorry.
But the comics, they're like super like comic accurate compared to everything else. They've kind of been going more accurate with like the colored costumes and all that lately.
Yeah. And it's definitely like a 60, like in the 60s or in the like it's a past version. Like it's a past version of Fantastic Four.
Which I saw some people saying like, who's gonna be the best 60s mother? Is it Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm, or is it gonna be Wanda?
Yeah.
But that's the other thing that's pissing me off is the amount of people that have been saying that Vanessa Kirby's not attractive enough to be Sue Storm. Those are the two like instant reactions I've seen. Is they don't like, outside of the like usual, because of the way my cookies are, I usually see a lot of positivity around Marvel products. So like a lot of Captain America stuff I've seen, a lot of my stuff that's put on my feeds is positive, and a lot of what I've seen on Fantastic Four is memes of putting the Thing in the bear, or like memes of any meme of Ben Grimm saying like needs more salt,
right?
People posting clips of the Chris Evans and those like and the Yoan Fantastic Four,
Gruffled,
where they're posting like what they loved about that movie, which is making them excited for this one. So like a lot of positivity, but the negativity that I have seen outside of not liking the Thing, who looks great, by the way.
I think the Thing looks
fantastic.
Awesome. I mean, he was definitely the center point of this. Like, he got more of the Thing than any other,
which is nice.
Any of the other four.
It's nice because we've had a lot of people complain like
by a lot of them.
He always does. The Thing has always been like the Thing. He's gets the worst name out of the whole group. He's usually the story that gets given to you, and then as soon as they're done talking to you about the Thing, they never go back to him. And then we also have a lot of MCU fans that complain like we don't see the Hulk out anymore. So if the Thing does get some focus, we'll probably get to see the Thing Hulk out a bit, which is cool. Like, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, I even just the simple sound effects of like the footsteps, like him, he was like running. So you got Johnny flying around the city, and then you got him going thud 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 thud, like ramping up. Like that was super cool for me. It was just the thud 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 thud, like he's heavy. He's gonna sound heavy, and like you get those like big, thick sounds. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm just, one thing. So we've talked about this before. I get a little nerdy when it comes to movies in general, where I really like the sound, like the score, the color coding in the movie. I tend to break it down and enjoy every aspect. It helps me find things that I really like about movies. For like, usually you can always find something, especially if you break it down like that. And when Johnny Storm leaps and flies, there are lens flares.
Oh yeah,
when he leaps.
The last time, a lot of people are super impressed with that, and they did do that a little bit in Guardians,
right? Yep,
in Guardians of the Galaxy,
which James Gunn is an incredible filmmaker.
Effect.
So
right, yeah, it's a really cool effect because I think it was just like a gun blast that happened too close to the camera, and so it like you saw the lens be dirty and the light reflect off that dirtiness.
Yeah, it immerses you into it.
Right.
It makes it feel like you're looking through your eyes. You're no longer looking through a camera lens. It's so good. But people saying Sue Storm or Vanessa Kirby's not attractive enough to be Sue Storm. You are either blind, not attracted to women, or stupid.
We got I think Vanessa Kirby is definitely going to be the star, one of the, I mean, everyone's going to be a star of this movie, but from an acting standpoint, I think out of every single iteration of Sue Storm that we've seen, she's going to be the best.
I think so too.
And from attractiveness, like we were all 10 years old and we had Jessica Alba in front of us. Like that's what those people are comparing it to.
Right. And young kids
Vanessa
now,
Kirby's a smoke show, so like I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know what they're saying either, and she looks just like a lot of what MCU's been doing. Like she looks like the comic. And so back then, we in the early 90s, early 2000s, young boys wanted to see like the hottest woman possible, and that's like what got us interested. It just was it was just laying that out there. I think what brings the young audience now is often a powerful woman figure. She doesn't have to be the hottest, even though Vanessa Kirby is very attractive.
Very attractive,
We saw this from the Grammys. it was like women swept the Grammys. It was a very strong performance for women. The support for Wanda was already strong, and then she started kicking ass, and then everybody
Right.
loved her.
And
Agatha,
everyone's like, oh, wait, she's the strongest person in the MCU?
right?
It's like,
Yeah.
wait a second. Wait
And
a
then,
second.
like all these side characters, when it's like a powerful woman, the young crowd tends to really like them. So I know it's kind of a meme to say this, but young kids, boys, women, boys or girls, doesn't matter. The younger crowd loves Mother. Like
Yeah.
they want mommy. And I think
Yeah, the younger crowd.
Vanessa Kirby is going to be, yeah, just the younger crowd. That's all who wants it. I think Vanessa Kirby is going to be able to pull off, while being the attractive figure that she is, will be able to pull off the dominant, powerful woman where Sue Storm doesn't need Johnny and Mr. Fantastic to help her out. Like, I think you're going to see Sue be the one who takes over. She's not going to be the like stealthy, she's not going to be the finesse hero. There's going to be moments in which she is the physical strength hero.
Sure.
And I think that's going to help bring in the audience. So overall, I think we're going to see some new sides of these characters, which we got a little taste of it in this teaser. We got a little tease of it, but the one we saw the least of is Mr. Fantastic, which I think is because they're saving that obviously for the movie. We'll get that more in the full trailer, but they wanted to show off, like, look how good Ben Grimm is.
Yeah, and everyone likes Johnny Storm. Like, that's
Yep.
And they're going to be comparing it to Chris Evans, and they already started when they cast him, Joseph Quinn. So
yep. And of course, even we talked about with Pedro Pascal how we weren't sold on the Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the acting chops, but he didn't necessarily have the look. But like, he can make anyone have that Mr. Fantastic look. Like,
correct.
Little hair dye and stretchy stretch, and
because if we're being honest, the ultimate Mr. Fantastic, if you're going purely based off of looks, is already playing Doctor Strange. In my mind, I think Benedict.
Yeah, but he looks such like Doctor Strange.
He does.
Though.
So it's kind of like Robert Downey Jr. and Nick Fury, where now you kind of associate certain characters with who they were cast as.
Sure.
Like when you picture Nick Fury, even if you're saying I'm going to read the comics, you're thinking Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you're thinking the governor from The Walking Dead. Like that's that dude is Nick Fury, for sure. Like if he,
I could see that for sure. Yeah. And like Photon. That is 100%. Like
Maria Rambeau. Oh yeah,
that is 100%. That is all I picture now when I picture Photon. If it's like, there's a new comic where Photon's featured. It's like, that's exactly how she's gonna look because that's what I picture. Right. There's just some characters that really lock on, and I think kind of sticking with the theme, the look of these characters, I'm sold now. That was the one thing I was really worried about. We've talked about it in previous episodes. I was really worried about how Pedro Pascal was going to look. I think the fact that it is set in the 60s is going to help 1,000 things.
Sure.
It's going to help with, as always, technology kind of ruins movies. Like, we have cell phones readily available, and now 90% of our problems can be solved with a phone call. That kind of sucks.
Sure.
I think being set in the 60s is going to help out quite a bit. Reed Richards is on a chalkboard. He's not on a computer.
Yeah. And what's awesome is he has that long chalkboard. And that long chalkboard is for when he can stretch and write on the very end of the chalkboard while he's at the other end.
Right.
Like that's the cool thing about that. Fun fact about that chalkboard, if you still frame it, he has a multiversal like diagram on there that he's working on.
Of course.
So,
where he's going to run into John Krasinski.
yeah. The Council of Reeds, which I hope they do one day, but they bring all 3 of the other ones back.
That would be cool. I mean, depending on if Marvel, because right now Secret Wars, would be like the most expensive Marvel movie ever,
Oh yeah, 100%.
where you could bring in the Council of Reeds during that. You could bring in everything with Armor Wars, all the Hulks, everything.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
in order for them to do Secret Wars now, they're going to have to work on building hype, which that's starting with making movies properly now. Which leads me into what else I want to talk about, where I've seen this trend over the past few days on the internet of what all of a sudden happened where movies are starting to be good again. I think it's a combination of a few things. But I've seen it. There's like a few multiple different trailers of movies that have come out where people are like, wait, why does this actually look good? Or why does this look good? It's in a genre that I don't like, but now this movie actually looks interesting. Like, what is happening? I think there's a few things. I think one, the biggest thing is people started actually stopping going in theaters. Like, people started showing like, no, I'm not going to give you my money, which is the biggest impact.
Sure.
But I also think it has been enough time. These companies deciding to slow down and not put out as much movies, only putting them in theaters for a couple months before going to streaming. I think the slow build is kind of taken control to the point where, unless it's a movie that you're expected to suspend some disbelief, like a Transformers or a Godzilla, for the most part, people are like, no, I need, besides the action can't be the only thing that's good.
Sure.
And I think that's going to be
go
this
ahead.
movie, by
Sure,
the
go
way.
ahead.
I think that's what it's going to, besides like Fantastic Four is going to show us that Marvel is back to putting out good movies before, like, the action isn't the only thing. Similar to Iron Man, where he built his suit and the building, the drama scenes of him building and all of that, and the lead up to that movie where he like shows off his weapons. That's not the action scenes, and yet that's what people love. I think
Sure.
this is going to bring that back.
I think, like you said about build hype, and then you also said about like the suspended in like fantasy in regards to like Godzilla or Transformers or something.
Yeah.
There's an incredible stretch of movies, and it's all in July, and it has that exact what you just said. Suspended in this like fantasy world.
Yes, the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, and it's all like big market, big quality productions, right? Like you've got Jurassic World or Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that was the one
like
that people were talking
Resurrection.
about. Like, why is it
Yeah, so
always
you
looking
got
so
Jurassic Park, which is like the first week of July.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you have Superman, and then 2 weeks after that, you have Fantastic Four, all in July. It's going to be insane. Like, it's going to be insane, and you potentially could have like 3 $500+ million movies, like easily. Some of them might even push $1 billion. So, like, that's like, people are like, oh, well, movies look good now. It's like, I think it's a combination of these big studios and these big projects taking time to do those movies right.
Yep.
In regards to Marvel, DC, and even Jurassic Park, because they have a formula for success. Jurassic Park does, and it's doing these like crazy suspenseful things with a big name actor in front. So yeah, I think people will show out for those, because they're like, you know what, if we can't make it to all these kind of random ass movies that kind of look good, but I don't want to spend my money to, I'm gonna go reward those movies that I have cared about in the past with my money. And I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise for everybody, that like stretch of movies that's in that month, for one instance. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so to go with that, the slowness to put out. A part of it is also like these studios have always listed that they're going to like 5 years from now we're releasing this. They kind of give out their slate, and they've
Sure.
gotten a lot more vague with their release dates. because I think a lot like
Yeah, things move, right?
the constant news of things being delayed was such like a blue balls feeling of
Sure.
like it not only destroys the hype, but it kind of just kills the momentum of what you were what you were looking forward to. Like if if they would have said Superman was coming out July of 2025, but they said that 3 years ago, if they or they would have said
Then they push it
January,
to
and
2026 or
then they push
something.
it 2026. Yeah, I think that hype just gets killed. But if they just say releasing 2025, then we're fine if it comes out January. We're fine if it comes out in December. They still
Sure.
stuck with it. I think studios not like pigeonholing themselves and creating their own negative media by like look at Blade. They
Right.
Blade has so much hype still. Now, we're to the point where the only people that are still hyped for it are
It's
people
us
like
too.
us,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's the
I think an
comic book
example of that is
fans.
Lionsgate and like Saw X. Like I don't necessarily think that like Saw X came out in 2023. Saw X came out in 2023 and it was like around Halloween time, like it always is, September or whatever. And Saw X did very well. Like it was kind of like a they brought it back. They brought back Amanda and they brought back Jigsaw because it's a story that takes place in the early parts of the Saw universe. And like with its success, they instantly were like, we're doing a Saw 11 because it was so successful. But then, Tobin Bell had to, I believe he's in Jurassic Park. So I believe he had to film for this new Jurassic Park. And so they had to delay Saw 11 or Saw XI or,
Sure.
they had to delay that a year. And so that comes out this year and the hype's still there, but like it would have probably done really well, like after back-to-back years, especially with what Saw X did. So like even that, like the hype is still there for Saw 11, but from like a studio standpoint, it probably would have been a lot more successful if they would have gone with their first announced date, which was which was supposed to be last year. So
Yeah.
just pushing it out. I mean, yeah, that happens a lot. But.
Yeah, and I think all of that kind of culminates into the success that we're going to be seeing from movies this year and in the future. But Fantastic Four, they teased it. They just kind of put out like the F4 logo. They announced that we're working on multiple major projects like Fantastic Four, X-Men, and they like gave us these, but they didn't give us dates. They just said like we're slowly working on. Casting took like a year for them to figure out, outside of
Right.
Vanessa Kirby, which was like rumored within like a month of them announcing it. People were
Right.
like, wait a second. Like she was kind of locked, which again, to those people who were like questioning her, she's clearly the first one they signed on and they were like, yep, she's who it is. That's who we want.
Right.
So I think that she's going to kill it because it seems like this was written for her.
Right.
I don't think there really should be anything but hype for this movie. And I feel the same way about Captain America. The positivity that's surrounding Superman and Fantastic Four is kind of melting over a little bit and causing the negative stuff that there's no room there. It's so filled with positivity for these two movies coming out that all the negative stuff seeps out and it's just latching on to Captain America. All I've
Sure.
heard is people saying Red Hulk, the idea of a Red Hulk at all is stupid. It's like, oh great, like people who didn't read the comics are out talking
Right. I
again.
have no idea who Red Hulk is. Yeah.
Harrison Ford's too old to do this. What if Harrison Ford's too old to do this? Then we should fire half the actors in Hollywood because they shouldn't be like
Right.
nobody is too old to do any part with anti-aging technology, CGI,
Right.
all this comedy, stunt doubles have been a thing since the 20s. Like, come on.
Right.
All this negativity is surrounding this movie, and I don't get
Right.
why.
Yeah, I don't understand why too. The only thing that I'm going into the movie a little bit worried about is the extent of the reshoots that it did have to go through.
Right.
And so I think the plot the plot might be a little choppy at times. But that's what happens when you have like this the extent of reshoots, and like Giancarlo Esposito like joined the project late, and then they had to shoot his parts, and then they had to reshoot that, and so.
But then if you want to be positive about it, you have one of the best actors of the last couple decades joined a project late. So if anybody can join a project late and succeed,
Right.
it's him.
Right. Yeah, and you have like you're tying this back to the very first MCU movie.
Right.
Like the very first MCU movie, which was like the Incredible Hulk. So it's not Iron Man, it's the Incredible Hulk. So that's super exciting for me. Like seeing the leader is insane for me. Like that's going to be
seeing the leader is going to be awesome. It's too bad it's not Jim Carrey, awesome. But it's going to be awesome.
Right.
Not to mention there is a potential connection with Fantastic Four to give us that same old feeling of the MCU tying in the next, not teasing a project that might not come out for 10 years, Shang-Chi, but back to the post-credit is going to tease a movie that is coming out this year. We are potentially going to have a post-credit scene in Captain America that teases Fantastic Four.
Right.
I think that you're
or Weapon X, like the
right.
Weapon X program.
Right. So exactly.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's like
I just think
it's just insane
with the body of the Eternals of the Celestial,
Tiamat, yep.
combined with the Galactus showing up in Fantastic Four. I think that gives a great opportunity to combine two massive human beings that, or not human beings, massive beings that
right.
Would most likely interact on a high level scale to where you could mention each other. So even though that might be a little bit of a stretch, you have a potential to connect a movie that is coming out this year, which is what the MCU always did. And I think going back to where they succeeded early on, but in a new style, in a modern way, is what they are currently doing. And I think it starts with Captain America, even though it's going to feel like it starts with Fantastic Four, kind of like how it started with Incredible Hulk, but it feels like it started with Iron Man.
Right.
I think we're going to get that exact same thing. We're starting a new cycle over of MCU starting the right way. Captain America is going to be a good movie.
We can also talk about we have the most anticipated Marvel TV show coming out this year as well. Right after Daredevil, yeah. Right after Captain America. Like 2 weeks after that is when or 3 weeks after that is when Daredevil comes out.
Yet another example where they brought in good actors. Looks like they're doing the correct thing in each step. Maybe have to do a reshoot, delaying things, but not really announcing a delay, just giving a more vague timeline to say, actually, it's coming out this time, but...
Yeah, we didn't like the first script, so we got a second script. We didn't like the second script, so we got a third script.
Right.
So
we were going to go in one direction, but everything seemed to fail, so we rewrote everything, and now we're reshooting
all the actors hated it and said it was shit, so we're going to get someone that knows what they're doing.
Right, and that's why now the Russo brothers are coming back to Marvel, and it's same thing with DC. They brought in James Gunn because... the people that they were using weren't making good movies. They were making
rushed movies.
Yeah.
Very rushed. They tried to compete and they didn't do it the right way.
They're making the corporate movies
the right way.
It was like they were putting a thing into AI or into some sort of algorithm saying what makes money. And then it crapped out something and they're like, yep, that's what we're making. And Black Adam gets made. And they put so that it's not just DC that we're crapping on. They put in that algorithm and they said, what makes a good thing? They crapped it out, and that's how Ant-Man got made.
Right. And then
Doctor Strange.
They just handed away their homework, but they're like, hey, change a couple things so we don't get caught. And that's what Sony got. So
right. And now it's like, oh wait, we should actually treat the creation of films like they've always been, which is part of the arts. And you can't just like this for all these people that like hate AI or love AI, those sorts, like anything along those lines. You can never recreate or easily make art. It is not art if a machine crapped it out. If you just fill in bullet points and say this is what it takes to be successful, that's not good enough. That you're tracing. It's like tracing a picture and saying you drew something great.
Sure.
They're putting in, okay, the hero does this, great action scene, tons of money on this. Villain does a reveal, villain wins for a second, and then villain loses quickly. Hero does something good, credit scene. All right, now we'll make money. Like,
and you get rid of half of those steps and you have Fant 4 stick. So
right, villain doesn't even win for a second.
yeah.
And I think
He popped a couple heads and then lost.
right. You need to have some sort of creative leeway to, you don't pander to the audience at all. You have somebody who is good at writing. You take like a more of a Quentin Tarantino approach to a movie where you might not make everyone happy, including your stockholders. You might not make 100% of them happy, but when you put out a product that is incredible, the fans show up. You put it out something that's fantastic. The fans show up anyway, and then once they show up, then the stockholders will be happy. So just because they weren't happy before they put it out, they can't predict crap. They're the guys that are telling you to trace. When the fans are telling you, no, paint something, and who cares if, just like Picasso, who cares if the eyeball is halfway down the face?
Right.
That's what we want to see. We don't want to see, like, you're starting to see the swinger. Like, that's how the internet goes in cycles. Like, oh, this movie was really popular. 2 years later, let's all talk about how it was actually not very good. Like, everything's going to go in cycles, but the one thing that's never going to change is creativity from the get-go. That's why Jordan Peele, every single one of his movies finds success, because he is able to do something that nobody else is willing to do. He's willing to put something out there that somebody else, another studio, will say that's a stupid idea, and he just does it. And I think we need more of that. And I think taking things slow and creating an actual story before you've jumped into the superhero action aspect of it.
Oh, you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh man. That's crazy.
Before you jump into that aspect of it, you've created something, and I think that's what we need more of. And I'm thinking that's what's going to happen here. Just the fact that you have the Thing interested in cooking, that seems stupid. It seems memeable. You've created an aspect of the character for people to latch onto already. We don't just need Playboy Johnny Storm.
Yeah,
genius.
And plus,
Reed
the memes
Richards.
are great with the Thing.
They
like
are.
The bear. It's hilarious. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't wait. I know we're nerds about it. We are annoyingly positive about all these movies. Hell, we had positive things to say about Madam Web.
Yeah, I mean, for the first 5 minutes, yeah, and then we got.
But
we
if
were
you
politely disrespectful to it, but
Correct.
as it should have been. Yeah.
We find something positive, and it probably annoys some people that see our videos. How when we did our Boys season 4 review, that was the most comments we've gotten on a video yet, and almost all of them were telling us why we're wrong because we liked it. Like, it's just the internet
That's
loves
literally
being
the
unhappy.
entire Boys universe is trolling. Like the Boys is made to just piss people off, and if people get pissed off on content about something that pisses people off, that's their goal, and it's awesome. It's funny.
And I only have positive things to say so far. We've only seen a minute and a half. Similar to Superman, I saw people being mad about Krypton or Crypto.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, if that one thing is going to turn you off for a movie, if Dickhead Thing is going to throw you off, just don't see it. If that's really enough to bother you when they've clearly decided to build a world and a story, I don't know what to tell you. Go re-watch a movie from the 80s for the 100th time and don't enjoy some of the awesome new things that people are putting out there. It's like people that say they don't want to watch Agatha because they heard how gay it was. Like, that is one of the best streaming shows. You can binge it quickly, and it was completely well done, whether you like superheroes or not. It didn't even feel like a superhero movie or show.
Right.
People are just missing out on so much good like, people say, what was it, the early 90s or late 80s was the golden era of television. We're in the real golden era, and 20 years from now will be the new golden era. It's
Right.
people
Sure.
are learning how to improve. Bring it to a reference to another world. Sports, a lot of the time a modern athlete is probably going to be the best player ever because it's a way more improved game. It's
Sure.
just like, that's why LeBron's probably a better athlete of all time than Jordan. Because it's a completely different game.
Sure.
Go ahead and argue about that in the comments. I don't care. We're not here to talk about that, but I just wanted to give an analogy to take it out of movies for a little bit.
Right.
I don't know about you guys who are watching this, especially those that have gotten this far. But I'm more than excited for this. Fantastic Four and X-Men and Spider-Man are like the three pinnacles of Marvel for what it takes for Marvel to be good. So after Fantastic Four, X-Men is the next thing that I need to be perfect, and then how they tackle
that's probably
Spider-Man.
going to be the very, like, the phase after this phase, like after Secret Wars and stuff. That's when the X-Men are going to be super relevant.
Yeah. And that's for people that want to know my official expectations. Those three things: how Marvel decides to handle Spider-Man, the future of X-Men, and Fantastic Four. Those three things are, you can't be worse than a 9. They have to be perfect because they are your babies. They're your golden children. Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family. X-Men is like, when people look at super content, I mean, look at fucking Paw Patrol. They are ripping straight from X-Men. Like, they're just the most important, in my eyes. X-Men is the most important superhero, super anything content. That's how it is. And then Spider-Man is the most profitable super content in the world. So those three things need to be as close to perfect as you can get. And as of right now, Fantastic Four my expectations are still that high, and they will continue to be that high. And this teaser hit all the things I wanted already.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, let us know, what did you think of Dickhead? How mad are you that Vanessa Kirby is just an Uggo? You hate that Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic and he's using a chalkboard when he should be using a digital, fake, not even touching hologram.
I mean, he has the technology to do so, but maybe he likes the sound of the chalk against the chalkboard. Like, you don't know.
I do. Like, I have 2 chalkboards in my house.
Yeah.
And tell me how much better Chris Evans was than you'll ever get from this. So, tell us all of that. Honestly, we want to hear the positive things, but we've given you all the positive. Hit us with what you think is going to happen. Hit us up with how excited are you? Do you feel the same as we do? Because I can't wait. Just make sure you like, subscribe, all those things. And even if you don't want to, don't feel like you have to. This is just a thing we do for fun because we enjoy it. We love superheroes, and if you're watching this, you probably do too. So try to be a little bit more positive. Try not to follow that hate on the internet, because this is nothing but to be fun. Escape the world and watch Fantastic Four. Watch Reed Richards kick some ass. Watch The Thing. Watch Galactic. It's gonna be amazing. Watch some clobbering. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
There's gonna be some clobbering and some slobbering. Let me tell you.
Absolutely. There's clobbering on screen and slobbering in the seats.
Yeah.
And on that note, just want to let you all know you look great today. GG.
GG.